Welcome to the Big Ideas Show. I'm here with Brigitte from Strange Cargo. Hello.
Hello.
Thank you for joining me today.
It's lovely to be here.
And our chat today is going to be about creating cultural communities, isn't it?
Yes.
So that's going to be our chat. You're the first in this series of self-expression and message, and we're going to be coming back after a quick Brigitte, hello.
Hello, Lou.
Hello, it's great to have you here today.
Oh, it's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for the invitation.
It's lovely. And because I've been interacting at school in various stages with the work that you do for many years, so it's wonderful to kind of come here and hear a little bit more about what goes on behind the scenes.
Great, yeah.
So, we're talking about creating cultural communities, aren't we? But before we go into the quickfire questions, can you tell me a little bit more what that means for you and the kind of the wider context of what kind of our topic for today?
Well, I think personally for me, I came into the arts a bit later than most people. I didn't do my art training until I was in my 30s. I'd had a life before, if you like. I sort of, had worked in admin, I had a family, all of those sorts of things. So they sort of set me up that I was in a position that I came to it wondering where my place in the arts was, how I would access the arts, where what do you do? How do you become part of it? And I think I brought that to the work that I do at Strange Cargo, and my practice is how do people who maybe feel that the arts isn't part of their lives find the open door, feel connected, feel involved, and that's basically the nub of everything that Strange Cargo is, and it's definitely what my practice is.
Yeah, that's really great because, as you're saying, it can be seen kind of quite elitist, the art sometimes, can't it? And you've got, over the last how many years has it been?
23.
Wow, yeah, you certainly have brought people into art, and I'm already asking you questions when I'm meant to be going quickfire, but it doesn't matter. Has there been anyone that particularly comes to mind over those years that you've introduced to something? Maybe they came on board as a youngster, or maybe not a youngster, and you've then seen what they've done, and it was that spark that they needed to take them into arts in whatever form.
Yeah, I think there's so many. Recently, what's been really lovely for me this year, our Cherry Vary Day Carnival is 22 years old this year, and what was absolutely brilliant was the team of artists that I work with. A lot of them were in their 20s and early 30s. They'd been children in the parades years ago. They've been away. They're trained artists now. They are actually making their living and have their own practice. But they come in and they work with us because they know what it's about, and they know how important it is. And that was a bit of a eureka moment for me to sort of walk into the workshop and think, blimey, these people have grown up, they're the next generation, and they value what this is bringing, which isn't just about carnival, it's about that invitation. So that was a bit of one moment.
That gives me goosebumps, because it's like must be really wonderful to
lovely.
See it going full cycle and them coming back and going, because I think it's very easy, isn't it? You have an impact. People say, oh, thank you for X, Y, whatever it may be in any element, but to see how much impact it's had, that they then want to come back and put so much time and kind of contribute.
Absolutely, yes. No, completely. No, it's very exciting.
Awesome. Okay, we're going to have to go back. We're going to go back to the quickfire questions, because otherwise I'll get carried away. Right. So self-expression and message is our theme for this month. So I'm going to hit you with some variety of random questions. Okay. Favourite colour?
Purple.
Okay. 3 core values.
I'd say excellence, participation, access and excellence, I would say, would be our 3 core values.
Okay. Favourite medium for self-expression or to share a message?
Being outside.
Yeah? People, the public.
General in the public realm, I think, is a really important place to be, because that's where everybody is. That's what we all share.
Okay. Favourite artist, designer, creator, like, kind of at a national level, international level. Or historical level.
Do you know, I went to see an exhibition at Tate Britain last week, and I saw the work of Paula Rego. And I love Paula Rego, and she's just extraordinary. She sort of brings quite extraordinary messages into her work, and that's fascinating.
Cool. Okay, best way to get your message across?
Put an open message. I think the message needs to be broad.
Okay.
I think invite as many people to join in and make that message as accessible to as many people as you can. That way you'll reach lots of people.
Okay, awesome. Favourite piece of work you've personally created?
Ooh, that's quite tricky. I think Everywhere Means Something to Someone, which is the People's Guidebook to Folkestone, is something I can go back to again and again. And I grew up in Folkestone, but I learnt such a lot about Folkestone by doing it. And even though I know it cover to cover, I can still open the book and think, I don't remember reading that. And it was a lovely thing to make. I know the impact has been great that it's had, and I really, that's a lovely piece for me.
Definitely. And is that still something people can get? Because I think I've got one at home somewhere.
Yes, yeah.
But it's still available for people
to get? It is. It's for sale in Waterstones, or you can buy it from us if you want to, but it's actually become a bestseller. It's
awesome.
We've sold over 7,000 copies of it, so it's, and they've gone all over the world. So Folkestone sort of is known by people all over the world, which is great.
Because I imagine with the kind of regeneration, the stuff that's going on in Folkestone at the moment, that's only going to grow the interest and the impact
everybody knows about Folkestone now, and years ago they knew about it for the wrong reasons. Now they know about it for the right reasons, which is great.
Okay, great. What would your message in a bottle be?
Join in.
Yes, that's good. I like that one. Okay, biggest challenge in self-expression or getting your message across?
I think it's retaining confidence in what you're doing when it's tough, when it gets hard, because if it's a career that you've chosen in the arts, it's not always going to be easy, and it's easy to feel that other people are doing a better job than you or have better ideas than you. Fight through that, because you've got your own ideas. I always say to artists who sort of worry that the only thing that you can bring to the arts which is unique is yourself. So stick with yourself and
definitely.
Work your way through it.
Okay, favourite local artist?
Ooh, favourite local. I've worked a lot with an artist called Greg Stobbs over the years, and Greg is amazing, and he's one of my very favourite local artists.
I know some of his stuff. I see it all online, and the stuff for the triennial. I can't remember what it was called, but I remember the experience, and I can kind of see it in my mind. Yeah. It was the big hug thing, wasn't it?
Oh, that was at Cheriton Light Festival.
Yes, sorry, the Light Festival.
That's right. Yes, that was
cool.
the piece that he made this year, which was it's extraordinary. I think he always pushes the boundaries of what his practice has done so far, and I think that's what's fascinating about it. But doesn't lose the core of the value to him of what his practice is about, but finds a new way to express that.
Nice. Okay. And final one, how do you spark self-expression?
Oh gosh, that's a hard one, isn't it? I just think you just keep mulling over ideas, and then one day you just think, oh my goodness, I want to do that. That's my next thing. And just, you might sort of go through 100 different small ideas, and then all of a sudden you just think, that's what I want to do. That's what I want to do next. So I don't know, really.
So it sounds like when it all kind of clicks into place, you can have all the pieces of the puzzle and they're shuffling around, and then suddenly they just slot in, and you're like, that's the idea, or that's the...
Trusting your gut instinct, I think, is the most important thing. And that's what I do every time. If it feels right, then it is right.
Yeah.
And that's it. You can't always explain it, but if it feels right, generally it is. It is the right thing to do.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, awesome, good stuff. That's Quickfire questions done.
Okay.
We'll go back into Strange Cargo and the work you've done. Can you tell me, you touched on it a little bit there at the beginning, but can you tell me a bit more about your story and kind of how you came into this and how that's kind of set up your values of it being for everyone?
Okay. Well, I think I've said that I sort of studied in my 30s, and that's sort of coming into the arts and sort of wondering how other people, felt about the arts in folks. I mean, I was very lucky that I started work with Strange Cargo when it was in its infancy. The company actually came into being off the back of the opening of the Channel Tunnel. So 1994, the guys Art and Simon Bolton and Art Hewitt, who started the company, they worked on that. They started Strange Cargo, and I worked with them from the early years. And that was great. I mean, I was very lucky as I graduated a month after I got the job. So I've been there ever since I graduated. But I was interested, and as an artist, it was quite a strange situation to find myself in, that I was working with a celebratory and carnival company. And I'd just come out of quite a conceptually rigorous fine art sort of training and thinking, oh my goodness, how am I going to sort of marry this with my sort of fine art training. But once I relaxed into it, I thought, such a gift to actually learn how to work with hundreds of people to make a carnival or a lantern parade or something like that. Gave me the skills to be able to work with that same group of people to make a public artwork or to have an exhibition. And I think that's what I learned. That was the evolution of my practice. And just that relaxing into thinking, it doesn't matter if other people don't get it, that it is still a piece of visual fine art practice. That has to be learned, and that's over the years we've made enough work now for that to sort of feel like it has its own place within the arts.
Yeah. So would you say that was the main learning for people who may be coming out of art school and going, oh, now how do I make that a career, to kind of relax? And how do you transition from that, where you're maybe doing work for yourself in kind of college or whatever you're studying, to then going, oh, it's not just about me, it's about other people and participation? Yeah. What would be some of your kind of advice, things that you learned that you'd like to kind of share with others? Yeah, I think I'm always interested in that idea of participation, even before I realised that I was. I think so. It's not for everybody. That sort of practice isn't for everybody. Which is absolutely fine. But for me, it was just because I grew up in Folkestone. I had an understanding of the town and a love for the town. And just thinking, the first major piece of work I made was the hands, like the back of my hand at Folkestone Station. Yep. And that was a millennium piece. And it was just really trying to think of a way to celebrate the millennium with people who lived here. What could we do? What could we do that was going to involve lots of people? And we managed to raise a small amount of money, so it wasn't a lot of money that we raised to do it. Bought a bag of plaster and all that sort of thing. So the handprints were all done in plaster originally, and it was all just very sort of low sort of tech sort of beginnings. But it was great because we invited people born across the last century. It's one of the few opportunities that we could have made that work. But every single hand at Folkestone Station is somebody born in a separate year of the last century. So it covered a really broad spectrum of the town, and everybody knew at least one of the hands at the station. So we had an exhibition at the gallery at the top of the old high street when we were there. Thousands of people came, which was great, and we managed to find enough people so that there was somebody for each year who could tell their story of their connection to Folkestone. But what the realisation when the piece was made was that it affected everybody. And that was quite an extraordinary revelation, to think everybody knows one of these people. And eventually we managed to raise the money and find the location for it to be at the station. But it was that was a bit of a eureka thing where you think, my goodness, you can actually make work that involves lots of people that means a lot to people. And even now people come and talk to me about it, which is great, 18 years on, which is fantastic. So. Yeah. Do you find there's a lot of the time you go into a project going, right, this is what we want to create, this is what we want to do, but you come out with something completely different? Like you said, they're learning so much about kind of that and that participation and involving people. Does it often start as one thing and evolve, or does it depend on the project? I think there's a framework that you have to sort of create as an artist, but you've got to relax about what people choose to hang on that framework. Because I think you go into it as I'm not always the artist who makes the work, but in a lot of instances it's my sort of proposal or my idea, or I work with somebody else. And if it's participatory, there has to be a point at which you think, I don't know what's coming. I told people what I'd like generally them to sort of involve themselves in, but you have to wait and see what they choose to bring. And I think you have to be relaxed enough to think, well, that's what they're bringing, that's what people want this to be, so that's what it ends up being, because you can only work, it's a partnership. Okay. And I get it, because it's the same as kind of having these conversations, and we kind of have a conversation before we come on, and kind of now, even while we're chatting, I'm hearing different things that are really interesting. I love what you're saying about relaxing into it. I guess when you're doing applications, you've got to be very clear what you're doing, especially if you're going for funding, but at the same time being relaxed and allowing it to become what it becomes. Yes. Yeah. But I think, you within that relationship, I'm the artist, or whoever it is, that's their role to sort of be the person who can deliver the end result. So you have to be prepared to be, strong enough to hold on to all the bits, but relaxed enough to let other things happen within that sort of framework. And then you don't know what you're going to get, and it's great. It's really exciting because you get people join in that bring something to the table you could never have anticipated, and that's terrific. Yeah. It must be so much fun. So for people out there who are at any stage, be they kind of having just being like, this is what I want to do from a kind of a young age, or kind of going, oh, maybe kind of later on I want to have a change. How do people go about doing more of the sort of stuff that you do? Because I imagine it's not an easy thing. Like you said, the arts is can be elitist. You mentioned about the funding. What are some of the kind of bits of advice you'd give people?
Yeah, I think don't do things to please other people. Mm-hmm. Be sure about what you want to do, because then you can retain the passion for what you do. Being an artist, it's a lifetime sort of, you're developing throughout your lifetime. So if you have a bit of a sort of dry patch, you think, oh no, I can't think of anything I want to do at the moment. Don't worry about it. That's fine. And don't sort of think that everything you do is art, because maybe it's not. Maybe it's just sort of developing what you're doing and getting some new ideas. So I think it's a long journey, and it's not. You don't have to be sparkly all the time. Mm-hmm. you can make mistakes and you can sort of test things out, but. As I said, you do know when you get it right, you sort of have that feeling that it's going to be the right thing. Yeah. But I think just crack on as well. I think don't wait to be given permission to do things. That's really it.
Okay. That's a good one. And I guess, would you say to people, is it about going out and just doing the work in whatever format you can, or is it more on you've got to go down the traditional route of finding funding, getting your project started?
Depends what it is. I mean, if you need funding certain things need funding. I mean, making a public artwork, if it's a big thing, then we were having a little chat earlier, and I made a piece of work years ago which was called Lucky Penny, and I found £30 in the street. And I thought, I can make a piece of work out of this. And I had it changed into pennies. So I had 3,000 pennies. I wrote Lucky Penny on them, put them in the street, just let people find them, let them feel better about themselves. And eventually this evolved into the major piece of public artwork that I was commissioned to make for the Folkestone Triennial, The Luckiest Place on Earth, which is under the bridge at the station. And it's that evolution of a thought process that eventually became something bigger, that you felt that if luck is a very sort of elusive sort of quality, and whether it exists or not is that's up to the individual to decide, but it's something that everybody understands, whether they believe in it or not. So it has the power to affect change.
Yeah, so a constant evolution of a process. And it's very easy, isn't it, sometimes when you get hit by an idea and you're like, oh my God, this idea is amazing, and thinking this is it. But as you're saying, it may be just the first piece for what becomes something much bigger or different.
And there's normally a core of, any artist will tell you, there's a core of sort of a passion that runs through all their work, which, the way they make it may change. They may not work in the same medium twice, but it's that sense of what it is they're trying to achieve that I would say, from my experience anyway, is that runs throughout their careers, throughout their life as an artist. So.
Yeah, okay. So what is coming next for the stuff you're on? And particularly linking this in maybe with Folkestone, as we said already, is kind of changing, growing. Mm-hmm. It's becoming so much more positive interest. How does that affect where you're at, the work you're doing, and what comes next for you?
What we're doing? Well, we have two projects which are regular projects. Obviously, Cherry Valley Day, that happens every year. We've probably worked with about 15,000 people over the years who've joined in, made a costume. Part of that sense of that, it's a tradition, and that's a lovely thing. Yeah. The Cheriton Light Festival is now something which is it's a biennial event. We had it this year, so it'll be a couple of years away, funding permitting, and that's happening too. But in the meantime, we've got some public artworks happening. Delighted to have been commissioned by St. Peter's Church on the Durlocks to create a digital 3D printed frieze. It's the 150th anniversary, and a couple of weeks ago we actually had 120 people from the parish who live there, not necessarily congregation, but people who's they live around the church sort of parish, and we're creating a sort of contemporary, like a medieval frieze, but capturing these sort of lives and images of the people that make up St. Peter's Parish now, which is great. So that's happening at the moment. I'm making a public artwork for Ashford, which is fantastic to be commissioned to make a piece, taking our idea of participatory practice to a community, new community, because we haven't worked in Ashford before. And there's a new development called Erwick Place, and we're writing the history of the site, which is the old cattle market, through people's stories into the granite paving. So that's going to be a permanent the history of people's connection and attachment to the place will be acknowledged within the new development. So there's that. I'm hoping that we'll get some work done on our building in Cheriton. That's something that we're working on at the moment, because we moved to Cheriton about 3 years ago, and that's an interesting move to take our sort of selves out of the creative quarter and across to Cheriton to sort of look at developing from work with the community over there. So the Cheriton Light Festival came off the back of that move, so that's been sort of a really interesting thing to do. But we're still very much based in Folkestone. You know, we do work here, but we are sort of dotting all over the place. I mean, a lot of our work happens here, but we've worked all over the place. So yeah.
Really cool. Brigitte, it's been absolutely wonderful
thank you.
hearing about it. I love hearing all the background, and some great messages. I know we ask people at the end kind of what's the take home for people, but I think there's been hundreds of take homes all the way through the discussion. So hopefully anyone kind of interested, and I'm kind of hearing things going, that's definitely ideas and messages and things that can be useful for getting ideas and your message and something you want to express out to the world, which is a hugely important thing, isn't it, for the soul?
Oh, absolutely. And just talking to people and just feeling part of the community. I mean, it's great. There's some fantastic artists living in Folkestone doing great work, and there's a community here, and it's for everybody to feel that they're part of that. That's important.
That's really great. Awesome. Okay, and one final thing, if people don't follow you online, the social handles, where can they find out more about what you do?
Well, we've got Facebook, which Strange Cargo Arts, which is our Twitter and Instagram as well. So
people can find you on there.
Come and have a look.
Absolutely. Brigitte, thank you so much.
Thank you, Lou.
Cheers. Bye.